The air inside the abandoned theater felt stale and thick, like it had been trapped for decades. Dust floated in lazy swirls, caught in the thin beams of sunlight breaking through cracked ceiling. The group of 5 friends, Arif, Mira, Kabir, Tanya, and Zion, stood silently, their footsteps echoing on the wooden floorboards. They had come to scout this place for their next indie horror short, thinking it would be the perfect setting. But none of them expected to find what they did. In the corner of the old projector room, hidden behind broken equipment and rusted reels, they discovered a small, locked metal cabinet. It took Kabir nearly 20 minutes to break it open with a crowbar. Inside, there was a single film reel, unmarked, wrapped in decaying cloth. No label, no date, nothing. "This looks ancient," Mira said, brushing dust off her hands. "Maybe it's never been watched before," Tanya added, staring at the reel like it was something alive. Zion set up their old projector, more out of curiosity than anything else. Arif hesitated. "Should we even be watching this?" Kabir laughed, shaking his head. "You want inspiration, right? What if this is some old band film? Could be gold." They loaded the reel into projector and sat down on the floor, expecting a silent film with bad quality. But the moment it began, the screen went black and then flickered to life. It didn't look like a movie. It looked real. A man was tied to a chair in a dark room. He screamed, but there was no sound. The film had no music, no dialogue, only visuals. The camera zoomed in as a figure in the shadows approached a man with a blade. The image was grainy, but the blood looked fresh. Too real. The man's face contorted in pain. His eyes pleaded. And then the screen cut to static. Nobody spoke. That couldn't have been fake," Mira whispered. "Old snuff film." Kabir offered, but his voice lacked confidence. Tanya stood up, pacing. "We shouldn't have watched this." They turned around to ask Arif what he thought. But Arif wasn't there. His spot on the floor was empty. Where'd he go? Zion asked. Kabir blinked. "Arif. Guys, who's Arif?" Tanya asked slowly, her voice uncertain. Mira looked at her, confused. "What do you mean? He was just here." "Was he?" Zion said, frowning. I don't remember him coming in with us." Kabir opened his mouth to speak, but then hesitated. His mind tried to remember Arif, his face, his voice, but it felt like sand slipping through fingers. Something wasn't right. "I swear he was here," Mira insisted. They checked the recording camera they had placed earlier to document their visit. Kabir scrolled through the footage. At the start, there were 5 of them. Arif was clearly there, laughing, talking, helping set up projector. But now the last few clips showed only 4. In the footage, Arif had vanished mid-frame. 1 second, he was sitting beside Mira. The next, he was gone, like someone had edited him out. And none of them remembered filming that part. "I don't like this," Mira whispered. "We need to go." They packed up in a hurry, the reel left spinning behind them. That night, they all stayed in touch over calls. Tried to understand what had happened. Tanya kept insisting there had only ever been 4 of them. Mira tried sending her the video where Arif was visible, but when Tanya played on her phone, Arif wasn't there. The group was splitting. Reality felt unstable. Mira's hand shook as she rewatched the footage on her own laptop, and this time, the film looked different. It wasn't just a murder scene anymore. It now showed them, the group, sitting in the abandoned theater, watching the reel in the exact same clothes they had worn earlier. But there was something wrong. In the new footage behind them, shadows were moving. Something was creeping toward them. She paused the video, heart pounding. She showed it to Zion over video call. He saw it too. "We didn't record that," he whispered. Kabir confirmed it. That scene wasn't part of their footage. It was something else. Something added. "Did someone mess with the reel?" he asked, but even as he said it, he didn't believe it. Mira tried to sleep that night, but kept waking up to a low humming noise, like film spinning through a projector. When she finally drifted off, she dreamed of Arif. He was inside a dark room, whispering, banging on a glass wall. She tried to reach him, but he kept fading in and out like static. When she woke, her bedroom mirror had a fingerprint on it from the inside. The next morning, Kabir called in a panic. The reel had appeared at his apartment doorstep, wrapped in the same decaying cloth. "I didn't bring it home," he said, breathing heavily. "I swear I left in the theater." Tanya now believed them. She said she'd been having nosebleeds, and sometimes, when she looked in the mirror, her reflection didn't blink when she did. It just stared. Zion found something strange in his phone's gallery, new images he never took, blurry shots of him sleeping. One picture showed his door opening slowly. They decided to meet again at the theater. Maybe putting the reel back would fix things. The projector room was darker than before, colder. The air smelled of burnt hair and vinegar. The reel was already there, spinning on its own. No power, no light, just spinning slowly, making that soft clicking sound. "Don't watch it," Mira said. "We'll just put it back and leave." But the screen flickered to life. None of them touched anything. The film started playing again. The footage showed the group inside the theater, watching the reel. They were all sitting frozen, terrified. And behind them, something was walking. It had no face. It moved like a puppet with broken strings. It reached out and touched Kabir's shoulder. Kabir screamed and jumped back in real life, looking over his shoulder. Nothing was there, but the film continued. The faceless figure now stood between them. One by one, they were dragged into the darkness behind the screen, kicking, screaming, but no sound came from the film. And then the most disturbing part happened. The last scene showed the theater empty, not just empty people, but empty like no one had ever entered, as if the chairs had never been used. The floor never walked on. A void, and the reel stopped. Kabir ran to shut off the projector, but there was no switch anymore. It had melted. Zion looked at the camera they had set up earlier. Its screen flickered. The camera had started recording again. They checked the footage. And the same terrifying scene was playing out in real time, but this time it was slightly different. The shadows were closer. The faceless figure now had eyes. Eyes that looked exactly like Ariv's. They stared at the group through the screen. And blinked. The projector started spinning again on its own. And the screen now showed something none of them could explain. Them, running, screaming, being hunted. The next morning, Kabir woke up sweating, his heart pounding like a drum. The first thing he saw was the reel, sitting on the table across from his bed, wrapped neatly in the same old cloth. He had burned it last night. Mira and Zion had watched him pour gasoline on it, watched the flames eat the film until there was nothing left but melted metal and black ash. And yet, here it was again, clean, intact, waiting. He didn't call anyone. He just stared at it, terrified to touch it, but it was already too late. As he stepped out of bed, his feet crunched on something. Tiny pieces of burnt celluloid. The floor was covered in it, like a trail leading from his door to the reel. In another part of town, Mira was watching the same reel through her phone. Not physically, but in a video clip she didn't remember filming. She had just woken up and found it in her gallery. It showed her standing in the mirror, talking to someone who wasn't there. Her mouth moved, but there was no sound. Behind her reflection, a figure stood watching. Then, her reflection turned to look directly into the camera and whispered something. The video ended. She tried to delete it, but it wouldn't go away. Every time she erased it, it reappeared under a new file name. Eventually, she gave up into the phone under her bed. Zion and Tanya had similar experiences. The reel appeared on Tanya's kitchen table while she was in the shower. Zion found it inside his car, buckled into the passenger seat with seatbelt like a guest. They tried throwing it in the river, burying it, locking it in a safe. Every night it disappeared. Every morning it was back. Then the sleepwalking began. It started with Zion. He would wake up in random places in his apartment, on the bathroom floor, behind the couch, even one standing in front of the open fridge, holding nothing but a flashlight. But one night, Mira stayed on a video call with him while he slept. Around 3 a.m., his screen went black. When it came back, it was recording from his phone's camera. He was walking, barefoot outside. The screen tilted slightly, like someone else was holding the phone. Or like Zion was filming something, but wasn't aware of it. He moved through dark streets, past clothes shops and sleeping houses. Then he stopped in front of a small building none of them recognized. A red light blinked above the door. The camera zoomed in on a rusty sign. Theater Room 2B. Then static. When Zion woke up, his feet were muddy, and his phone had a new video saved. He didn't remember filming it. They gathered again, Mira, Kabir, Tanya, Zion, sitting in Mira's living room with the reel placed between them like a cursed object. No one dared touch it. We're in it, Kabir said quietly. We're part of the movie. Mira looked at him. What are you talking about? Don't you see, he said. This isn't just a reel. It's a script, a story, and we're the characters. It keeps playing out over and over. We destroy it, it comes back. We run, it follows. It's not recording us. It's directing us. Zion nodded slowly. That's why the footage changes. Every time we think we're out, it writes a new version, a new scene. Tanya's hands were shaking. She opened her bag and pulled out a small, old-fashioned clapperboard. Its handle was red, covered in dried blood. She had woken up holding it. On it was written in thick black ink, Scene 12, Take 1, date. Today. Kabir's mouth went dry. Where did you get that? I don't know, Tanya whispered. I woke up with it in my hand. My pajamas were wet. It wasn't water. Mira stared at the clapperboard. Why today? What's supposed to happen today? Zion stood up. We need to find that place. The one for my sleepwalking video. Theater Room 2B. It took hours of searching, looking through old city maps, forgotten building records. Finally, they found a lead, an abandoned school near the edge of town. It used to have a small theater for plays and screenings. One of the buildings had a label that matched 2B. They drove there as night fell. The school was surrounded by broken fences and wild grass. Everything about it looked wrong. The windows were covered from the inside with dark sheets. The door to room 2B was unlocked. They stepped in, one by one, their flashlights flickering. The room was exactly like the one in Zion's video. A small screen at the front, a few chairs in rows, and a reel projector already running. But there was no reel inside. It was spinning on its own. Tanya's clapperboard began ticking like a clock. Tick, tick, tick. The lights flickered, and the screen came to life. The footage playing was black and white. It showed them entering the theater just moments ago. Then it fast-forwarded. The footage now showed Tanya walking toward the screen, touching it. Her body began to glitch like old film skipping frames. Then she was gone. In real time, Tanya stepped back in fear. I'm not doing that, she said. I'm not going up there. But the reel kept playing. It showed Kabir trying to break the projector. Something pulled him back. Something invisible. He screamed, but the footage had no sound. Then it showed Mira and Zion running, tried to escape, but the door was gone. Only a wall remained. Then the screen went black. Kabir turned and ran to the door. It was still there. He opened it, but behind it was only darkness. No hallway, no outside, just a black void. He slammed it shut. We're not in the real world anymore, Mira whispered. We're inside the film. Zion looked at his phone. It had started recording again. He wasn't touching it. None of them were. The camera showed a live view from above, as if someone was filming them from the ceiling, but there was no one there. Then the reel and the projector made a loud screeching sound, and the film snapped. The room plunged into darkness. Their flashlights died one by one. Silence followed. Then a voice. Deep, hollow. Scene 12. Take 1. And then Tanya screamed. When the lights returned, she was gone. Mira sobbed. Kabir stood frozen. Zion picked up the clapperboard. It was still in the room, but now the blood was fresh. The date had changed. It now said, Scene 13, Take 1, tomorrow. Kabir tried to smash the projector, but this time his hands passed through it. It was no longer real. Or maybe they weren't real anymore. On the screen, new footage appeared. Tanya, sitting alone, somewhere underground. Her mouth stitched shut, her eyes wide with terror. She tried to move, but her body was jerking like a puppet. Her movements were not her own. Kabir turned to Mira. "It's taking us." One by one. Zion whispered, "No, it's filming us." They left the theater room, running through halls that bent unnaturally, like parts of a dream. Doors led to rooms they had never seen before. One room was filled with hundreds of broken projectors. Another had mirrors, each one showing a different version of themselves, with different injuries, different expressions. In one mirror, Kabir saw himself alone, covered in blood, smiling. They didn't know how long they ran. Minutes? Hours? Time didn't feel real anymore. Finally, they found a stairwell that seemed to lead upward. The clapperboard ticked once more, and the reel was sitting at the top of the stairs, waiting, wrapped again, unmarked. Zion reached for it, but before he could touch it, his body froze. His eyes rolled back. He collapsed, and the clapperboard dropped from his hand. Kabir rushed him, but Mira pulled him back. "Don't touch him. Don't touch anything." Zion's fingers were curled around something, a piece of paper. Mira carefully picked it up. It was a torn page from a script. It read, "Fade to black." Then, behind them, the projector flickered to life again, even though it wasn't there anymore. And from the darkness behind the screen, something began to crawl out. The night was colder than usual, and the cursed film kept playing inside their minds like it had infected something deep. They had all watched it, together, thinking it was just an old horror reel. But something had changed inside each of them. The dreams were getting worse. The static sounds, the shadows moving in corners, the feeling of being watched even when alone. And now they had a name. Elias Rook. The name had appeared in the credits of the curse film. A faint, scratchy font, almost like it didn't want to be seen. But it was there. Elias Rook, director. Arjun searched for hours, using every dusty corner of the internet. Most links led nowhere. Forums deleted, articles gone. But he finally found one scanned page from an old newspaper, yellow and torn. It had a photo of a man with sunken eyes and a crooked smile. The caption read, "Elias Rook's final film banned after audience panic. Director disappears days later." The article said the film was made in 1933 and shown only once. The theater burned down the same night. Everyone in the audience died in strange, unexplainable ways, one by one, over months. Some drowned in dry rooms. Others vanished completely. Rook was never seen again. Arjun showed the article to the others. Mira gasped. Zoya backed away from the screen. Sufyan rubbed his temples, trying to understand. So what? He disappeared. Why is his name in the credits of the reel we watched last week? "That's the thing," Arjun whispered. "This was his film. That reel we watched, it's his film. But it's not just footage. It's something else. Something alive." Sufyan laughed nervously. "Come on, man. A living film? That's crazy." "Then explain this," Arjun said, pulling out a photo. It was a still frame from the cursed reel. A dark corridor. A tall shadow at the end. "This shot, it's the same as the photo behind the screen in the old theater. The one we found. You think the movie's filming itself now?" Zoya asked, her voice shaking. "No," Arjun said. "I think with the movie now." They fell silent. The next day, Mira didn't show up. Her phone rang, but there was no answer. When they went to her house, her mother opened the door with eyes red from crying. She said Mira had locked herself in her room last night, screaming, laughing, crying. Then silence. When they broke the door open, she was gone. Only her bedsheet remained, folded neatly like she had melted into thin air. But on the mirror, written in black film ink, were 3 words. Rolling. Still rolling. Panic spread through the group. Zoya was ready to burn the reel, but when they opened the box, it was empty. The cursed film was gone. That night, Arjun had a dream. He was in a movie theater, but the screen was broken. Behind it, something moved. He walked closer. A camera sat alone, facing him. Its lens turned like an eye. Then a voice whispered behind him, "You're next." He woke up screaming. They decided to go back to the abandoned projection room, where they first found the reel. The air was thick with dust and something else, like the feeling of walking into a grave. The walls had changed. They were covered in old film strips. Faces moved inside the strips. Crying, screaming, begging. Zoya screamed. One of the faces inside the strip was Mira. Arjun stepped closer. He saw more familiar faces. People they didn't recognize at first. But then he remembered. Some were the audience members from that first showing in 1933. Their photos were in the article. Sufyan reached out to touch the strip. The film burned his skin. "We need to end this," Zoya said. "Destroy everything. Burn the room. Smash the projector. Break the curse." But then they heard the sound. Click, click, click. A camera starting up. The projector turned on by itself. The curse film began to play. But it wasn't the same reel. It was new footage. The footage showed Zoya screaming, Sufyan crying, Arjun holding a burning match. Then the footage showed something none of them had seen before. Elias Rook himself, standing in the shadows, behind projector, his eyes black, mouth stitched, his skin stretched like celluloid. He spoke, but there was no sound. Only subtitles burned into the screen. The film must grow. New actors. New endings. Zoya tried to pull the plug. Nothing happened. Arjun smashed the projector with a rod. It cracked, but kept rolling. Sufyan set the film strips on fire, but they didn't burn. Then Zoya screamed. Her hands were bleeding, her eyes dripping with thick red tears. She fell to the floor, clutching her face. Her skin began to peel, not like flesh, but like tape, film tape. Her hair fell in strips. Her mouth opened in a silent scream as her tongue unraveled like ribbon. Arjun ran to her, but it was too late. Her body was gone. In her place, a reel, titled, Zoya, Scene 1. The air turned cold. The projector stopped. Smoke filled the room. The film faded off the walls. Sufyan fell to his knees, whispering her name. But Arjun just stood there, frozen. He understood now. Elias Rook had wanted to make a film so real it would live. He had succeeded. And now the film was still hungry. It needed more actors. The reel blinked. Then another line of credits rolled. Arjun didn't sleep that night. Neither did Sufyan. Zoya was gone, and her name was now on a reel like she was never a real person. The cursed film had taken her. And the scariest part, they still didn't know how to stop it. The next morning, they packed their bags and decided to leave town. No plan. Just run. Escape. Maybe if they crossed the town borders, they could break free from whatever this nightmare was. Sufyan drove. Arjun sat beside him, holding the reel labeled Zoya. Scene 1, wrapped in cloth. He didn't know why he had taken it, but something told him they needed it. The road was quiet. Too quiet. No birds, no cars, no wind. Just long stretches of trees and cracked pavement. After 2 hours of driving, they passed a gas station. Then another half hour later, they passed the same gas station again. Sufyan looked at Arjun. That's the same one. Same cracks on the wall. Same graffiti. No, Arjun said, though he already knew it was true. No, it can't be. We've been driving straight. They drove faster this time. 1 hour. 2. Another gas station. The same one. Sufyan slammed the brakes. We're stuck in a loop. Arjun stepped out and looked around. Everything was the same. The sign with the flickering E and open. The crooked vending machine. Even the smell of old fuel. Time wasn't moving forward. It was circling. They tried turning back, taking different roads. Every single one brought them back to town. The welcome sign with its chipped paint and rusty bolts. They were trapped. When they returned to Arjun's house, it was different. The door wasn't closed. It was wide open. Inside, the lights flickered like a bad film reel. The furniture was there, but covered in dust like no one had been inside for years. Sufyan stepped in first. The air changed. It was colder, thicker. Arjun followed, and the door slammed shut behind them. They ran to it, pulled, kicked. It didn't budge. Arjun opened the hallway door to try the back exit, but it didn't lead to the kitchen. It led to a burning church. Flames roared in silence. No heat, just light, and in the center of the church, pews filled with melted mannequins. On the altar, a black figure stood, its face covered with a cracked director's mask. The figure raised one hand and pointed at Arjun. Arjun slammed the door shut. His heart was pounding. "What did you see?" Sufyan asked. "A church. On fire. And that figure again." They opened another door, hoping it would lead to the kitchen. It led to a funeral. Their own. 2 coffins sat open in the center of a dark cemetery. Inside one was Arjun, lifeless, eyes open. In the other, Sufyan. Both of them backed away from the door. "This house, it's not a house anymore," Arjun whispered. "It's the movie." Every door led to a different scene, a different nightmare. Sometimes it was a memory, sometimes a twisted version of the past. They saw Mira standing in a hospital hallway, crying blood. They saw Zoya sitting in a room full of mirrors, each one showing her face peeling again and again. But always, that figure in black stood in the background, watching, silent, directing. Arjun and Sufyan tried writing notes, drawing maps, breaking walls. Nothing worked. The house changed every few hours. Stairs led to nowhere. Windows showed skies made of static. They even found an old film camera set up in the living room, pointing at nothing until Arjun stepped in front of it. The lens moved, focused on him. Then the TV switched on and showed a live feed of him and Sufyan in the room. From above, they weren't just trapped. They were being filmed. That night, Sufyan started acting strange. He sat on the floor, his eyes blank. He mumbled things Arjun didn't understand. At first, it sounded like gibberish. But then Arjun realized Sufyan was talking like someone reading a script. He said things like, "Scene 23, interior, night, subject panics, and camera angle, low, fear rising." "Sufyan, stop," Arjun begged. "Snap out of it." But Sufyan just looked at him and said, "Emotion, confusion, tone, desperate, reaction, tears start." And then he cried, just like the script said. Arjun shook him, slapped him, begged him. Finally, Sufyan blinked. "What happened?" he asked. "Why does my mouth feel like it's not mine?" "You were reading lines," Arjun said. "You weren't you." Sufyan held his head and muttered, "It's inside me now. I think I'm becoming a character." They both decided to try one last door. This time, it opened to a wide, black room, a stage, wooden floorboards, empty chairs in rows like an audience. A spotlight lit the center. Everything else was shadows. They stepped forward. A clapping sound echoed. Slow, cold, mocking. The black figure stepped out. Arjun felt his knees weaken. The figure removed its mask. It wasn't a face underneath. It was a roll of film, spinning, showing different scenes rapidly. Mira's last scream, Zoya melting, Sufyan whispering lines. Arjun saw his own face, terrified. The figure spoke without moving its mouth. "You broke the wall." Then it faded away. Suddenly, the walls cracked. The ceiling split open like paper, and everything began shaking. Wind blew in from nowhere. Doors slammed. Lights flickered. The film camera turned again. Arjun pulled Sufyan toward the back door. "This is it. We run." Sufyan didn't answer. His eyes were blank again. He whispered, "Exit scene. Final shot. Escape attempt." "No," Arjun shouted. "You're not the script." He dragged him to the door, opened it, and for the first time, it led outside. They stepped out into bright, white light, and the world froze. Everything stopped, even the wind, even their breath. Then came a deep voice, not from the sky, not from the ground, from everywhere. Sufyan opened his eyes. The world was still frozen. Trees stood like cardboard cutouts. Clouds didn't move. Even the dust in the air hovered like someone had paused time. Arjun was next to him, silent, staring at the white sky that looked like a blank screen. Scene 5. Begin, the voice had said. But nothing had happened yet. Then the world shifted. Like a curtain pulled back, everything melted around them. The trees, the sky, the ground, all dissolved into dripping film. They were no longer outside. They were somewhere else. A dark room, cold, smelling of metal and rot. In the middle of the room was a single table. On it, a film canister. Arjun walked toward it slowly, like it was alive. He opened the lid. Inside wasn't just film. There was something else. A thick, folded script. Old, crumpled, and soaked in something red. He pulled it out carefully. The title on the first page read, "The Last Scene." "This is it," Arjun whispered. "The original script." Sufyan came closer. "You think we can change it?" Arjun opened it. The pages were handwritten. Every line in red ink. But the ink didn't shine. It had a dull, dried look. It wasn't ink at all. It was blood. The entire script was written in human blood. They turned pages slowly and saw their own names. Zoya enters frame. Screams. Skin melts. Mira, eyes bleed. Silence falls. Sufyan becomes script. Loses self. Arjun, the survivor, watches them all fall. "This is our story," Sufyan said. "It's already written." Arjun's hands trembled. "But maybe if we rewrite the ending we can change it." They found the last page. Final scene. The screen fades to black. Silence. All characters erased. The film survives. Sufyan grabbed a pen from his jacket. It didn't work. No ink came out. Arjun looked down at the bloodstained page. He understood. "The script only accepts blood," he said. Sufyan hesitated, then pulled out a small blade from his boot. "Fine," he whispered. "Let's bleed a new ending." He cut his palm and dipped the pen tip into the blood. But as soon as he touched the page to write, he screamed. His hand twisted backward. Bones cracked. His fingers bent unnaturally. He dropped the pen. Arjun caught him before he fell. Sufyan's hand was broken. Useless. "It doesn't want to be rewritten," Arjun said. "I know," Sufyan groaned, "but we have to try." Arjun picked up the pen. His hands shook as he wrote a single word. "Survive." He gasped. His vision blurred. Something twisted inside his head. His ears rang like 1,000 screams had been shoved into his skull. He fell to the floor, clutching his temples. Memories began to vanish. His mother's face. His school. His first kiss. They slipped away like torn film. He forgot Zoya's voice. He forgot Mira's laugh. He forgot why he was even writing. Sufyan pulled the pen from his hand. "Enough," he said. "I'll do it." "No," Arjun muttered. "It takes something from us every time." "I know," Sufyan said, "but we're already dying inside this movie." He took the blade, cut his other hand, dipped the pen again, wrote one line. "Sufyan lives." His body jerked. His back arched. He screamed, not in pain, but in confusion. He looked around. "Where are we?" he asked. "What?" Sufyan blinked. "Who are you?" He had forgotten Arjun. No, not you too," Arjun said. Sufyan stared at him like a stranger. Then the room shook. Lights flickered above them. The walls melted. Suddenly, scenes began flashing all around them. Random, violent, terrifying. A woman tied to a chair, screaming as a clown filmed her. A little boy walking into a furnace while a choir sang. A man cutting his shadow off the wall and bleeding from it. "These aren't ours," Arjun shouted. "We didn't film this." The movie was fighting back. It didn't want them touching the script. From the shadows, the black figure stepped out again. But this time, it had a camera instead of head. The lens spun slowly, clicking like a predator locking on its prey. It raised its hand and pointed at the script. The blood writing began to melt. Letters ran down the page. The words they wrote, "Survive," "Sufyan lives." They started fading. Arjun grabbed the script and held it close. "No, you don't get to end us like this." He ran. Sufyan followed, confused, broken, lost in his own mind. They ran through a hallway that wasn't there before. Scenes open around them like doorways. Nightmares try and trap them again. A burning carousel. A house made of mirrors. A TV room where Zoya's face was stuck in every screen. The figure followed slowly. No footsteps. Just the click, click, click of its camera lens spinning. Arjun turned a corner and saw a door glowing with white light. "The final scene," he whispered. He ran toward it. Sufyan hesitated. Arjun looked back. "Come on." I don't know who you are," Sufyan said. "I'm your friend," Arjun said. "Please." Sufyan stepped forward, and the black figure raised its hand. A spotlight hit Sufyan, blinding white. He froze. His body stiffened. His eyes rolled back. And then he whispered a line like a confused actor on stage. The figure handed him a script. He took it and began reading. Arjun screamed, "No!" But it was too late. The scene closed. Sufyan vanished, taken by the movie again. Arjun stood alone in front of the glowing door. He opened the script one last time, hands bleeding, eyes burning. He tore out the last page, wrote with his blood, "Arjun escapes." The film ends. No more scenes. The world shook again. Everything melted. The ceiling above collapsed. The black figure screamed. Not a sound, but a terrible, horrible vibration. Then darkness. Silence. Nothing. Arjun woke up. He was lying on a road. The sky was gray. The trees were still. Everything was black and white. No color, like an old film reel. He stood up, looked around. The town was there, but empty. Shops without signs. Windows without reflections. Streets without people. "Hello," he shouted. No answer. He ran to Sufyan's house. No one. Mira's house. Zoya's. Nothing. He opened his phone. No contacts. No photos. Even his own name was gone. He found a mirror in a shop window. His face was blurry. He wasn't Arjun anymore. He was just the last scene. A single page blowing in the wind landed at his feet. He picked it up. It said, "The end." And then the screen faded to black. Arjun stood alone in the colorless world, the paper still in his hand. The words, the yendi, were starting to fade. He had rewritten the script. He had escaped the real, but it wasn't real freedom. Everything felt fake, hollow, like he was still inside something, like he was being watched. He walked through the empty streets, calling out names, Mira, Zoya, Sufyan, but only echoes answered him, strange and slow, like the town was lagging behind reality. The sky was always gray, and the wind didn't move the trees. Even time felt off. His watch ticked backward, then jumped forward, then stopped altogether. Then he heard it, a soft, scratchy sound, like a film projector spinning somewhere nearby. Arjun followed the noise down a narrow alley that hadn't been there before. At the end of it, a door flickered into existence. It looked like it was made of celluloid, pulsing with light. The doorknob was a camera reel. He took a breath and stepped through. Everything changed. He fell into a tunnel made of spinning film. It wrapped around him, pulling him down, down, down. Images flashed across the walls. Memories, scenes, nightmares. Sufyan laughing. Mira running. Zoya bleeding. Then himself, screaming. All on loop. When he hit the bottom, he wasn't Arjun anymore. He was a shadow of himself. His skin flickered like old film. His breath left tiny scratches in the air. The world around him was dark, but not black. More like overexposed. Everything shimmered, like it was being projected. This was inside the real. Reality didn't behave here. Trees grew from ceilings. Houses floated sideways. People walked in reverse, speaking gibberish that made his ears ache. Every step he took played a sound, like footsteps synced to a soundtrack. He moved carefully, searching for something, anything real, but everyone he passed had blank eyes and spoke in backward phrases. Then a voice called his name, normal, clear, desperate. Arjun! He turned. Mira stood there, shivering. Her face glitched between sadness and terror. He ran to her, but she stepped back. Don't. I don't know if you're real. I am. Mira, it's me. She stared for a second longer, then slowly nodded. It's all messed up here. I don't know how long I've been stuck. Where are the others? Scattered, she said. The real separates us into scenes. The more we resist, the deeper we go. It wants us to play our roles forever. We're going to end this, Arjun said. Mira's eyes widened. You saw the script? I rewrote the ending. It let me out, but it wasn't real. I had to come back. Suddenly, the sky split open like torn film. A giant eye appeared, watching them. Then the ground beneath them cracked, and Mira began sinking into it. No! Arjun grabbed her hand. Find director, she screamed. He's still alive. He knows how to end it. Then she vanished. Arjun was alone again. He ran through warped streets where people looped the same 5 seconds of action. Laugh, fall, bleed, repeat. Everything here was broken scenes. A woman brushing her hair over and over until it ripped off. A man opening a door to fire again and again. He followed the sound of film spinning. Eventually, he reached the theater. It was old, giant, and made entirely of film reels. The marquee above flashed between random letters. Inside, the screen was cracked, and the seats were filled with mannequins. But in the front row sat a man. Old, thin, eyes like ash. He turned as Arjun entered. You made it, the man whispered. You're the director, Arjun said. Yes, and no. I was, once, before it took control. What is this place? My masterpiece, the man said. I wanted to make the most real horror movie ever. I wanted it to live. So you trapped people inside it? I didn't trap them. It did. The film. It became hungry. You're insane. No, just punished. I've been stuck in this scene for years, watching it play out, over and over. But you, he pointed at Arjun, you broke something. You rewrote it. That's never happened before. Then help me, Arjun said. Tell me how to end it. The director nodded slowly. The movie only ends when everyone watches it, including the audience. What? The film feeds on eyes, on attention. It wants to be remembered. That's how it survives. If no one watches, it fades. Arjun thought for a moment. Then we have to show it. To everyone. Yes. One final showing. But you'll need to find the others. Bring them into the last scene. Only then can the final cut begin. How? The director pointed at the projector. Through there. Arjun approached it. The reel spun faster as he got closer. It vibrated with heat. Then a sharp light burst out, pulling him in. He landed in a funeral scene. Rain fell upward. Coffins opened and closed on their own. Arjun saw Zoya standing over a grave with her name on it. Zoya. She turned, her eyes filled with tears and static. Arjun, she whispered. They buried me. I screamed and no one heard. He hugged her tight. We're getting out. All of us. They ran, leaping through the scene. Each time they exited one, they fell into another. A burning church. A clown's birthday. A room full of mirrors where Mira sat crying, all of them. One by one, Arjun pulled them back, until finally they were all together again. Mira, Sufyan, Zoya, Arjun. They stood inside the projector room, in front of the final screen. This is it, Arjun said. Do we press play? Sufyan asked. No, Mira said. We step inside. They walked into the screen. White light swallowed them. Then darkness. Then an audience. Arjun blinked. They were on a stage. A massive screen floated behind them, playing their entire story. Every moment, every scream, every nightmare. And in front of them, millions of faces, watching, eyes wide, mouths open, some horrified, some crying, some frozen. The audience stretched forever, endlessly. And then something terrifying happened. The screen flipped. Not the movie screen. The actual screen they were watching. It turned around. Now they were the ones being watched. They saw themselves on a giant screen, standing there, looking shocked. And on the other side of the screen, millions of people watching them, silently, unblinking. And from the ceiling above, a deep voice echoed, "Final cut, begin." Arjun stood frozen, the bright white light fading behind him as he stared at the massive crowd. Millions of faces, eyes that didn't blink, silent mouths half open, all watching, not just a movie, watching them. Mira, Zoya, and Sufyan stood beside him. None of them could speak. The silence was too loud. The weight of so many eyes pressing down on them was unbearable. Then the voice came again, deep, ancient. "Final cut. Begin." The screen behind them flickered, and images of everything they had survived played again. Their escape, the script, the reel, the bleeding eyes, the reverse voices, the looping scenes. All of it, like it was building up to something, like the story still wasn't over. The stage beneath them shuddered. A staircase unfolded downward into projector itself. At the bottom was a single, rusted chair, a director's chair. The name on it read, "Whoever finishes the story." Arjun looked at the others. "One of us has to sit in it." "No," Mira said, stepping back. "We all made it. We all survived." "Then maybe we didn't," Sufyan said quietly. "Maybe surviving wasn't the point. Maybe the story needs closure." Zoya looked at the chair, then at the giant faces watching them. "If one of us stays behind, will it finally end?" Arjun nodded. "I think that's what it wants. Not another scene, not another twist, just an ending." "But who stays?" Mira asked. No one answered. The screen behind them lit up again. This time, it showed each of them one by one. Mira, Zoya, Sufyan, Arjun. Their names flashed underneath. And then the words, "Choose." They argued. They shouted. They begged each other not to go. But slowly, the truth settled in. Arjun stepped forward. "It has to be me." "No," Zoya shouted. "You rewrote the script," Sufyan said. "You already paid the price." "That's why I have to do it," Arjun said. "I started this. I brought us back into the real. I have to finish it." Mira grabbed his hand. "Don't, please." He gave her a sad smile. "You guys have lives outside this. Families. Futures. Me? This is my story now. Let me end it." They cried, but they didn't stop him. Arjun walked down the steps. The closer he got to the chair, the more the projector groaned and cracked. The film reel spun violently. Smoke began leaking from the walls. The audience didn't move, just watched. He sat in the chair. The moment he did, everything changed. The theater shook. The screen split open. The reels began to melt. A fire erupted, burning through the scenes, eating the film like dry paper. Mira, Zoya, and Sufyan ran for the stairs. A door appeared behind them. A way out. "Go!" Arjun screamed. They hesitated one last time, then turned and ran. Arjun sat still as the flames crept around him. The chair locked into place. His hands gripped the armrests. His eyes turned to the screen where the final scene now played. Arjun, sitting in the director's chair, watching the end. His skin began to peel like old film. His eyes bled like reels unraveling. But he didn't scream. He didn't move. He accepted it. Above, the screen showed Mira, Zoya, and Sufyan bursting to the door into the real world. Alive. Free. Then, slowly, the flames ate the last strip of film. Darkness. Silence. Then, a thrift store. A dusty shelf. Old VHS tapes piled like forgotten memories. A hand reached out and pulled one from the back. The cover was scorched, barely readable. But the title was still there, burned into plastic. Most Scariest Horror Movie Ever. The person flipped it over. No summary. No runtime. Just one sentence scratched in red. "Watch till the end." They laughed. "We should react to this. Old horror junk is gold." They handed it to their friend, who turned it over again. As the tape cover caught the light, something shimmered on the surface. Their own reflection. staring back at them from inside the plastic. And deep within the tape, in a tiny corner of shadow, Arjun sat, still in the director's chair, watching, waiting. The reel never really ends. It just needs new eyes,